Hello, Abhilash and Anvesh. Let's start the lesson. Okay, today we are going to start the new topic in AngularJS, that is modules. Okay, so what are these modules and what will it do exactly? Module is a part of the project. We are dividing the large project into multiple parts and each part is a module. For example, we have a banking project and this banking project can be divided into multiple parts like savings account banking, current account banking, funds transfer banking. Like this, we can have a number of things. And each module may have different screens. For example, in the funds transfer, add in the payee, view the existing payee, delete the existing payee, activate the existing payee, set the limit for existing payee, transfer the money, check the previously performed transactions. Like this, we have a number of screens for each module. So the project is divided into multiple parts. Each part is a module here. And how to create the modules and how do we work with the modules in AngularJS, that's what we are going to see here. Creating module in AngularJS. First we should write angular.module. The function that we have is angular.module. What this angular.module will do exactly, this function will create a new module in AngularJS and we can give any module name, whatever you like. And in case if you want to import other modules, that modules list you want to mention. Here we have to mention the list of modules to import. For example, already we have module 1, module 2, module 3, three modules we have. Suppose we want to import module 2 and module 1 into module 4. Presently you are making the module 4 and you want to import that module 1 and 2 into the module 4. How to import that module 1 and 2 into the module 4? By specifying in the square brackets, just we have to mention the list of modules which you want to import, that is module 1 and module 2. In the square brackets, that means in the array we have to mention the list of modules that you want to import. So that means while creating the module 4, it will import the module 1 and 2. So whatever functionality present in the module 1 and 2 is accessible from the module 4. Suppose we have created a service or factory in the module 1 and 2, all those are accessible in the module 4. That services and factories I will explain later. So just like in C language, we are importing some header file so that we are able to call all its functions. Just like that, we can import the module to module here. So into this module, these modules will be imported. Next, after that, we can store this module address in a variable. So where some variable name can be anything. This variable acts as a reference for that module. Suppose this one is a module and the module consists of various things like controllers, factories, services and others. These others, about these others you will get the clarity later. But module consists of various things, so just remember it. And we can store that module reference in a variable. This variable stores address of the module. This variable stores address of the module. So through that variable, we are able to access that module. Okay, now let's perform some application based on this. And by the way, one more thing, how to load a module into HTML tag. Suppose already we have created one tag and I want to load this particular module into this particular tag. How to load? ng app equal to module name. Which module you want to load, that module name we have to mention here. So this particular module will be loaded into this particular tag. Now we can just save this. And go to the extracted folder, that is Angular 1.6.6. Copy this angular.js file, paste it to which folder? C colon AngularJS 6am folder. Plus we have to create the new program in the same folder. We are making some HTML file and saving it in the same folder, that is C colon AngularJS 6am folder. The file name is modules.html. We are demonstrating the modules. So for the modules, there are two patterns. One is a single module development and multiple modules development. So presently we are making an example of single module development. It means the complete project is in a single module. Okay, next after this I will explain the example of multiple modules example. Anyways, now we want to make a single module exactly. Then what to do? First we have to import the angular.js file into the current working folder. And after that we have to take one script tag. So here the script tag begins and here it is ending. And here we are creating angular.module. So this is a statement for creating a module. Angular.module is a statement to create the module. And here we have to mention the name of the module that you want to create. Which module you want to create, that name you can mention here. Suppose I'm going to create sample module. You can give any name in this place. And what are the other modules that you want to import into this module, into the sample module? Which modules you want to import? That list of modules you have to specify here. And presently we don't have other modules and this will be empty actually. Next after that we can store this module in a variable. That variable name can be anything. Generally that variable name will be named as app. You can give any other name. So we can use this particular variable to access that module in the further programming. Okay, now as of now we have just created a module, but how to load this module into the HTML tag? First, how to create the AngularJS application? By giving ng-app. And already we know that this ng-app can be applied to any HTML tag. We can apply for HTML, we can apply for body, we can apply for a div, we can apply for any HTML tag. This we have to give the module name. Which module you want to create, that module name, that sample module. So this particular sample module is loaded into the HTML. Means top to bottom in the entire part of this program, we are able to use that as sample module. If this is not done, what happens is module is just created, but there is no way connected to this HTML program. So we are unable to use the AngularJS related concepts like expressions, directives. None of them can be used in this program. That's the reason we have to do both. We have to create a module as well as we have to load the same into the HTML tag by using ng app. Next, after that, but how do you make sure? How do you say? How do you give guarantee? Not guarantee. How do you identify whether the module is loaded correctly or not? So, if you give an expression, for example, 10 plus 20 something, if this expression is executed, that means module loaded correctly. If it is not executed, it is not loaded correctly. Like that, you can identify. Suppose double click on this program. Now we can notice 30. So we got 30 means that is successfully loaded only. Suppose if you do any mistake, for example, suppose I'm not giving this ng app, that means we have created the module, but we have not loaded the same into the HTML program. At that time, it will not work. That means just whatever the text we have given, that text will be printed as it is. It is no longer expression actually. So that's why we have to create the module as well as we have to load the same into the AngularJS. We have to load the same into the HTML tag. We can write this ng app for a HTML tag, for a body tag, for any HTML, for any tag we can write it. Okay, this is all about the single module development. So in case if you have multiple modules, how to handle that? In the same program, you want to create multiple modules. In real time, you will be keep developing n number of modules. Check this. Under the banking, we have different parts: savings account, current account, fund transfer, loan account, demat, credit cards, like this. Under the each module, different screens are available. So, so multiple module development is a topic. Suppose we are going to create three modules. We are going to create module 1, module 2, and module 3. In case if you want to import one module to other module, for example, module 3 wants to import module 1 and 2, we have to mention that list of modules. But what is the real use of this importing? We cannot demonstrate at this moment. Later, when we go for the factories and services, then we can understand the importance and real use of this importing. As of now, I can just provide the syntax only. Okay, leave it. Presently, we don't want to import anything. So just module 1 separate, module 2 separate, module 3 separate. So as of now, it is like this: module 1, module 2, module 3. That's it. And you want to load the module 1 into one HTML tag, module 2 into other HTML tag, module 3 into other HTML tag. In the web page, we have, assume we have three div tags: div1, div2, div3. And you want to load the module 1 into the div. Div means no, just a part of the page. Div is meant for part of the page. You want to load the module 1 into div1, module 2 into div2, module 3 into div3. Like this you want to load. The real-time meaning of div is what? Just a part of the page is called as div. For example, you can just say This is the div. This is the div. This is the div. Each meaningful part of the page is a div. So just like that, I want to create three divs and I want to load the modules respectively. Okay. Okay. So how to create this type of environment? So div id equal to div one. Okay. In the style, okay. Now we have created three divs and hash div one will select this particular div one. Hash div one means we are selecting this particular div one. For this div one, we apply the style. That is, okay. So for this div one, we apply the style. That is background color width, and you want to display side by side. So float left, and you want to set some margin. Same style for div two and three also. Just a different background color. Now, now the div tags are like this. Now I want to load the module 1 into div 1, module 2 into div 2, module 3 into div 3. But how do we make sure, how do we identify that this module 1 is loaded into the div or not? Just we have to give some expression, that is some 10 plus 20. So if this expression executed correctly, that means module loaded correctly. Now presently it's not executing, that means module is not loaded into the div. Then what to do? How to load that module 1 into the div 1? Angular.bootstrap. Angular.bootstrap is a predefined function in order to load the module into the div. So Angular.bootstrap, Here we have to give document.get element by id of div1. This statement document.get element by id of div1 will get this particular div. And for this div, which module you want to load? You want to load the module 1. We have to mention it in the square brackets. So overall what happens, the first statement will get this div1, second part will get the module 1. So this module 1 will be loaded into the div. It will load the module into the div. So in order to load the module into div, we use angular.bootstrap. If we don't load the module into the div, we cannot use any of the AngularJS concepts in the particular div tag. So now still we have written the statement correctly only, but this it has no effect. I mean, the output is not coming as expected. This is the reason why, because as of this moment, as of this statement, div1 is unknown. Think of the program execution sequence top to bottom. As of this statement, the statement div1 is unknown. Div1 is found here below, but as per above situation, div1 is unknown. So at that time, this will return undefined. Undefined means that nothing is found. So that's why the module 1 is not loaded anywhere. That's why we cannot see the output. So then in order to solve this problem, there are two solutions. One is you can cut this statement and write the same here in this place. Then see it works. Div1 is working. In the div1 we got 30 because div1 is identifying that expression. How it is identifying the expression, module 1 is loaded into the div. How it is loaded, because of we have written this statement after the presence of the div1. If you write the same statement above without the presence of the div1 as of that moment, we are executing that div1. We are identifying, we are trying to locate that div1 if it is not identified. So it is not possible. That's why if you write the same statement here above, it is not working. If you write the same statement after the presence of div1 here below, it's working. So this is one solution for the problem. The other option is that you can keep this statement inside one thing, that is angular dot element of document dot ready of function. Inside the function you can keep the same statement. What is the meaning of this angular dot element of document? Angular dot element of document is representing the complete web page. This complete web page itself is occupied as it itself is identified as a document. The complete web page area where you can see the real web page is called as document. Okay, ready means after loading the page, after loading that body tag, after page loading completed, then automatically we are calling the function 1. Overall, the statement meaning is after page loading completed, it will call the function 1. So at that time, all these div tags are already known. That's why this statement works correctly. So if you read this same statement like this without this document ready, what happens is the div1 is not identified at this moment, at that moment, but we are trying to access the div1, which is not still identified. So this type of problems you will identify. That's why we have to wait until the page loading completed. So for that reason, we have to go for document.ready. So it will just wait until the complete page loads, including body tag, top to bottom. Then it will execute that function 1. So at that time, the div1 is already known. So this is the meaning. and the same statement can be repeated for remaining other modules also. Finally check it, it is working. Okay, this is the one approach. And another alternative approach for the same is multiple modules, but we have a combination. Suppose I want to use NGApp and a Bootstrap at a time. But if you want to use a Bootstrap, if you want to use NGApp, the limitation is NGApp can be used only one time in the complete HTML program. In the entire web page, we can use NGApp only one time. It is not possible to use NGApp multiple times. So that's why for the first module we can use NGApp. For the remaining modules we have to go for Bootstrap only. Means you want to load the module 1 into div 1, right? So instead of writing that statement here, we are writing the same thing here. Div 1 ngf equal to module 1. So for the first one module, we have used ngf equal to module 1. But for remaining, we have to go for the bootstrap because it is not possible to use ngf multiple times in the same program. Okay, not working right. Okay, ngf I think given here. That's right. Okay. Even above also we need not give it. Okay, here what happened? We have to give ngf only one time. See now it is working. So ngf if you want to use, we can use only one time. But if you want to use multiple modules for second module onwards, we have to go for bootstrap only. So this is all about the modules. Okay, any doubts in these modules?
No.
Okay. Okay, just 1 second, I will continue. Okay, let's continue. Next point. So next part in AngularJS is MVC. So first, AngularJS is a framework which works based on MVC architecture. AngularJS framework works based on MVC architecture. Generally, language, framework, architecture, design pattern, this type of words are very confusing. Seems understand, but they make confused. So if someone asks very clearly, very, um, very clearly, so you may be unable to explain that properly. So I will provide the clarity in brief. Now listen. Language means set of rules and syntaxes to write the programs. Language means set of rules and syntaxes to write programs. So just like in order to speak in some particular natural language like English, Telugu, something, we require the formation of the sentence, where the noun, where the pronoun, where the adjective, where the adverb, where the verb, like this different parts of the speech, we have to arrange them in a proper order. For that, some syntax is required, some additional rules are required. All that are provided by language only. And framework means it's a predefined project template. So to do some real-time project, if someone is providing some predefined project template, whereas with some uh, common functionality, with the common built-in functionality, that is a framework. So whichever the common among all the projects, that is automatically provided by the framework. For example, a server-side framework will provide the ready-made code for receiving the request and providing the response. What are the code for receiving the request? What are the code for providing the response? I mean, sending the response. That is automatically already offered by the server-side framework, like Java Spring Framework, ASP.NET and MVC framework in .NET, etc. Suppose our AngularJS framework itself is providing mainly data binding framework to create the data bindings, to make automatic updates from that object and UI, whatever the common code that is provided by the framework. Whichever the code that is related to your own project, which is specific to your own project, that you should write. Common functionality provided by framework. And design pattern means it's a solution for known problem in design. Suppose it is like already I know this particular problem. Suppose already have faced this particular problem in my project. So that's why I have researched and found this particular solution. If you go through this particular solution, if you follow this approach, this type of problem you will not face in future. So to avoid this type of problems, go for this approach. Even though it seems a little bit difficult or strange, try to follow this so that this type of problems will not occur in future. That is the suggestion I'm providing. That is intention of the design pattern. For example, uh, to avoid to make yourself secure, to avoid the what is that accidents, not avoiding, like to make yourself secure. Okay, to make yourself secure, you can wear seat belt while driving your car. Okay, so if you want to make yourself secure, to avoid such problems, okay, wear the seat belt. This is the design pattern. Just a suggestion given, a valid proper suggestion, proper research already done, and finally, it's a solution for known problem in design. Already the problem they know, and they are providing the solution. That is what design pattern. Here, design means not UI design, not like designing the web page. Here, design means project design, architectural design, and another word very confusing is architecture. Architecture means just a picture that explains the model of the project, how the project components are arranged. So this is the architecture intention. For example, you want to construct the building. For construction of the building, just a building plan is required. You want to plan the new city. So first, the city completely divided into different sectors. In which sector, which part, which area, which kind of buildings and which kind of things should come. A complete plan is required. So for just the building plan or the city plan, these are all examples of architecture, just a picture representation of the components, how these are arranged together. That's about architecture. But the point here is that most of the frameworks are developed based on anyone architecture. Most of the frameworks developed based on anyone architecture. There may be some frameworks without architecture, but most of them, 95% of the frameworks follow anyone architecture. So these are general awareness I've just provided. So anyway, why we have discussed about this one, we have used the word framework and architecture here. So AngularJS is absolutely a framework. It is not architecture, but it is follow which architecture? MVC architecture, Model View Controller architecture. This architecture is providing the pixel representation of the model of the project, how the project should be, where which part should be present, where which part should be other, which other part should be present, how they are connected each other, which one should call which other part, which part should not call which other part. All these are explained by the architecture. So just AngularJS follow that MVC architecture. So that means we are dividing the project into three parts: model, view, and controller. So what is a picture representation? What that MVC architecture is proposing for us? Just we have controller first, and just think that model, view, controller, all these are just parts of your source code. Control is a part of the source code, view also part of the source code, model also part of the source code only. Through your source code only, this controller model views have to be created. Okay, so controller here view and here model. And first, controller can call the model, controller can call the view. Next, view can call the model. Controller calls model, controller calls view, view calls model. Plus, we have to follow the sequence also. First point, controller call model. Second point, controller call view. Third point, view calls model. Sequence we have to follow. 1, 2, 3. Controller calls model. Next time again controller calls view. Finally view calls model. These are the fundamental guidelines of the MVC architecture, and now MVC architecture is over. Yes, only this picture itself is MVC architecture. So based on this picture, if you can create a project that is said to be MVC project. So So AngularJS supports that. AngularJS lets you to create MVC project. So without any predefined libraries, without any ready-made functionality, creating this MVC architecture from the scratch level is very difficult. For example, AngularJS provides a predefined function to create the model, to create the controller, to create the view. What are the predefined functionality? Means predefined code is required. All that is provided by AngularJS framework. If AngularJS framework is not there, if you want to create this MVC architecture from your side, yourself, from the scratch level, it's too difficult. Maybe possible, but it's too difficult. Instead of concentrating on your actual project requirement, you have to spend a lot of time on developing these technical related things. That's what the exact point of that's what exact use of AngularJS framework. So with the help of AngularJS framework, it is easy to create MVC architecture application. Without AngularJS also MVC possible, but it's too difficult. Almost nobody wants to do that. That's why we require AngularJS kind of frameworks to create MVC applications. But you may heard about Java Spring Framework, ASP.NET MVC in .NET. Those also MVC only, but those are server-side MVC. This is client-side MVC. Server-side MVC is different, client-side MVC is different. Simple, if the code executes on server-side in server system, that is server-side MVC. If the code executes on client side in the client system, that means in the browser, that is client side MVC. This AngularJS MVC totally client side MVC, not server side. And you can mix both. Server side you can use any MVC related framework, and client side we can use AngularJS also. For example, you are a Java developer. On the server side you can use a Spring framework. There also model view controller will be there. There also this architecture same only, but implementation different. How to create a model, how to create the controller, how to create the view, that syntaxes and code may be different in Spring framework. So that is a server side framework. Client side, we are using AngularJS. So in that way, we are mixing the AngularJS MVC plus Spring MVC. So anyways, so we are not touching that server side MVC part here. In our codes, we are covering only client side, not the server side. Anyways, now how to create this controller model and view. What is exactly the controller and model view? First I want to explain. First, what is model, what is controller, what is view. Suppose we have a data, that is model. You want to display it, that is a view. And you want to manipulate it, that is controller. In a small way to explain, in a non-technical way, suppose you have a photo. You have taken a printout. A printed photo is there. The printed photo you want to exhibit in your house. For your house, different visitors are coming, so for them you want to exhibit that particular photo. So we have your real photo, that is printed photo, that you want to exhibit. So what will you do, you will have a photo frame. Inside the photo frame you will keep it, and through the photo frame you are just exhibiting your photo to everybody, so anybody can see that. It is just stick on the wall, that's it, so anybody can see that. So later, after few days, you want to change the other photo. Then what will you do? You will remove that old photo, you will replace other photo. Again after few months, again you want to change back to the old photo. Again you will change that photo. You will remove that old photo and you will keep the other photo. So after few days again you can change it. Whenever you want, you can change it. You can manipulate. Now here you are the controller. Photo is a model. Photo frame is a view. So actual stuff what you have here is the photo. Photo frame is meant for displaying presentation of the photo, and you are the person who can manipulate that data. You can change, you can make the changes to the picture. You can remove it, you can add it, you can make any changes, whatever you thought, whatever you feel. So you have a freedom and you have the rights to change it at any point of time for any situation. Completely, it's your decision. So you are the controller. You can control it. So that is a non-technical way of explanation of that. So coming to technical thing here, you take any registration form or login form, some fields you can find, for example, in the Facebook, first name, surname, mobile number, new password, date of birth, gender, different values are available. All this data you're going to store inside one object. That object is itself is model, and you're writing some HTML code to display all that data. That is a view. Plus, you will write the code for loading the data into model. By default, model is empty. We have to load the data into model. Plus, after loading also, later you want to do manipulations. For example, there is a create an account button. When we click on that, the data has to be saved in the database. Sometimes you want to retrieve the data. Suppose there is a requirement like if you enter the username, it has to check that username and that username already found in the database or not. You want to check. If already found in the database, you want to display such a message in the screen. For that, some code is required. So any kind of functionality, any kind of manipulations, just a click event, double click event, different events you will write, different code you will write. So all that is done by controller. Controller to can do any manipulations, anything. Simple example, if you click on login button, it has to check that username password correct or not. For checking, some code is required. That code is what? Controller. Loading the data into model plus manipulation of existing data. That is what controller can do. Model is just an object to store the data. View is a set of HTML text to display the data. Controller is meant for manipulation. So in order to understand this, if you take the previous examples, okay, now you can check this program. This is actually yesterday program. Imagine all this ABC will be stored inside one object. Okay, inside the object only, we are going to store that A equal to false, B equal to Hyderabad, C equal to class 2. We have stored all that ABC inside one object as you. A equal to false, B equal to Hyderabad.jpg, C equal to class 2 has been stored inside one object as you. So that object itself is model. Model is an object that stores data. Only storing. It doesn't manipulate by itself. So, and someone has to display it and someone has to manipulate it. Who displays is called as a view, who manipulates is called as controller. Understand this point? So, this ABC, what are the variables you created here? All that will be stored into an object actually. That object itself is model. Yes, already we know that model actually. See, previously we have created the variables like this through in the ng init. All that variables are being stored inside the object. In that way, indirectly we have created a model only. And after that, here we have displayed the data, right? This piece of the code, this part of the code is displaying the data. I want to display the A value here. I want to display the B value here. I want to display the C value here. So displaying presentation is done by this set of HTML tags, and these set of HTML tags are called as a view. Model stores the data, view displays the data. Next, controller do manipulations. Means to load the data into model, after that to manipulate it, some code is required. Suppose, for example, in the Facebook, you click on your My account, you go to your account settings. So once you open your account settings, it has to load the data from the database into the web page. I mean, your name, your phone number, your email address, your other details, which are already stored in the database, will be retrieved for retrieving the data from that and loading the same into this object, into the model object. Some code is required. That code is present in the controller. Next, not only after that, if you click on any button or any option, some manipulation logic should be executed. For example, if you click on change your name, there should be some two text boxes should appear to change your name. So that such type of manipulation logic also done by which one controller. So finally, model is a JavaScript object to store data. What data you want to display? That a model or that data can be stored in the model. Next, a view. It is a set of HTML tags to display model data. What this controller will do, it is a set of it is a JavaScript function that loads data into model. Because see, always remember here only some people may confuse. Model is by default empty. Model is by default just empty object. Okay, someone has to add the data, right? That someone is nothing but what controller. Controller will add the data into model. Model by birth is not having any data, just it is empty object, empty box. To load the data, controller is required. So model is like just empty hard disk. Once you purchase empty hard disk, there is no data inside that hard disk, just empty, complete free space. Okay, 0 bytes of data has been stored in the model already. What of the data you want, we have to add it. So who will add the data into model? Controller. Controller may fetch the data from database and the controller adds data to model. And okay, it is a JavaScript function to load the data in the model and manipulate that model data. Okay, this is run by model view and controller. And as I told already here, controller can call model, controller can call the view, view calls model. The sequence we have to follow. First controller calls model, controller calls view, view calls model. Before that, browser call the controller. That's the first point. At the time of execution, first browser will call the controller, then controller calls model, controller calls view, view calls model. That is a execution sequence. Okay, what is the sequence of execution? Browser call the controller, then controller call model, controller call view, view calls model then. Okay, that is the execution sequence or execution flow. Okay, now, so we have understood the MVC architecture. Next, we have to learn how to create that model, how to create the view, how to create the control, that flow we want, that syntax we want. Syntax of creating MVC. Okay, just 1 minute, I will continue. Okay, fine. Let's continue now. First, how to create the model. Creating model. Next part will be creating controller, and then creating view. These three parts we have to learn in the sequence. Okay, first creating model. Creating model automatically done. Yes, there is no any syntax to create the model. There is no any syntax to create the model. Okay, this model creation will be done automatically. Exactly to say, before execution of the controller, automatically it creates a model. Before execution of controller, automatically a new model object will be created. Always remember, model is an object. By default, object will be empty. Suppose you can say this is an object. Inside the object, there will be nothing stored. By default, the object is empty. So, such an empty object will be automatically created. Model means the object only. That empty object will be automatically created before the execution of the controller. See, just before a movement of controller, automatically model gets created. Suppose right now the controller is going to execute. So just before a movement, first an empty model object will be created. Then immediately next controller will execute. That is the flow of the model. And the default name of the model is $scope. Name of model is $scope. $scope means $scope means the model. But if you have multiple controllers, how it is named? Is it like a $scope 2, $scope 3, $scope 4 like that? Understand the intention. Suppose what I'm saying is, suppose there is a controller 1. Just before the execution of the controller 1, automatically a model object will be created, right? So, and that model object is named as or identified as a $scope, right? Okay, that's okay. But if you have controller 2, controller 3, then what is the name of the model object? Definitely for every controller, separate model will be created. Understand? For the controller 1, separate model object. For controller 2, separate model object. For controller 3, separate model object. So this mapping is done. Okay. This controller 1 can access the first model object. Controller 2 can access the second model object. Controller 3 can access the third model object. That's okay. But I'm asking the name. That the name $scope is a fixed or different. I mean, okay, first one is $scope. Maybe second one is called $scope 2. Third one is $scope 3. Is it like that? Answer is no. All model names will be $scope only. But if it is a $scope, how do you represent that to which model, to which controller it belongs to? For example, I'm saying that $scope here. Which model will come first $scope or second $scope or third $scope? Answer is corresponding $scope. What is the meaning of corresponding? Whichever the model is associated to this controller 1, only that $scope will come. See, it depends on where that word is present. If this word is written in the controller 1, it refers to $scope of the controller 1. That is the first model object. If the same is written here, that means it refers to $scope of the second controller. the same is written here, that is refers to dollar scope of the controller 3. For every controller, different dollar scope is available, different data will be stored. Suppose here some x value, y value stored, here some p value stored, here q value, r value. Different values will be stored in each object. Each object contains different data, any number of values, any type of values, any size of the values, unlimited. But the question is exactly when you write the dollar scope in a controller, which dollar scope will come? Because all the names are dollar scope only. Answer is in which controller we have written that statement dollar scope, the corresponding dollar scope only will come. That is a point to understand. So that's why the name of the model is always fixed dollar scope. We cannot change. Another small clue is that for most of the predefined names, either the name starts with the ng or name starts with the dollar. ng or dollar. Whenever the name is starting with dollar or ng, we can assume it is a predefined in AngularJS. That's why for user-defined names, don't use that words ng and a dollar. For example, you are creating a new variable name, dollar employee name, something. Here, employee name is a user-defined name, employee name. This variable is user-defined. If you keep the name dollar here, it is possible technically, but it's not correct to give in real time because if you give dollar, you may confuse whether it is a predefined or user-defined because all the predefined names starts with which one dollar. For example, dollar scope, dollar root scope, dollar q. Like this, so many dollar are available. So if you keep dollar emp name for a user-defined name, so how do you think how the other programmers know that it is a predefined or user-defined? They may confuse, right? That's why it's not suggestible to give dollar or ng for any user-defined variable names. Okay, anyway, that is a different matter actually. So anyways, dollar scope refers to current model which belongs to current controller. That's why outside the controller we cannot use the dollar scope. The word dollar scope can be used only inside the controller. Suppose if you are writing some other different function or something other than the controller, we cannot use the dollar scope. Okay. Now how to create the controller? Already as per the coding, we have created app variable. We have created which variable? App variable, app1. Or if you come back here, just app, this type of variable created or not, this one. So that variable name. Actually here we can give any other variable name, right? That name should be given here. So app.controller. It is used to create a new controller. Here we have to give controller name. Controller name can be anything. For example, controller 1 or controller 2, any other name we can give. And every controller is a function. So function name we have to give. And we have to create such a function. Understanding? We have to create a function and this function name should be mentioned here. And in this function, we are able to access the predefined model by writing the name dollar scope. Dollar scope refers to the current working model which belongs to current working controller. For example, you are making some funds transfer related controller. So funds transfer related model is by default accessible through dollar scope. You are creating some login form. So login controller we are creating. So login model you will get. If you are making registration controller, you will get registration model. That is what the meaning of dollar scope of the current controller. So here we can write the necessary code for adding data to dollar scope. Whichever the code is required, we can just write. And how to load this controller to the HTML tag. We can make one div tag. Of course, not only div, we can give any other HTML tag. Just we can give ng controller. Here we have to give controller name. Already above we have created a controller, right? That controller name should be given here. In that way, this div tag becomes a view. Here we can write some HTML code to display the model data. Which of the variables are present inside the model, that values you can access and print them here through expressions, through any kind of directives like ng bind, ng model, ng. Previously I told some directives, right, from 1 or 2 days, like ng show, ng hide, and ng if. Anything can be used inside the view only. So controller main intention adding the data to model, view accessing and displaying the same. It's like, the mentality of the controller and view is, view says that give me data, I will display. I don't know how to fetch the data from the source of data. You have to supply me data, I will do that. Presentation I will do. How to present the data to the user as per the user expectation, I will take care about it. But data you have to supply. Controller says that I will supply the data, but we have to display. And I can manipulate it. I can manipulate the data. So presentation is a duty of which one? View. Supplying the data is a controller. Where the data will be stored? Model. So this is the intention of the model view and controller. So as per today, we have understood the complete awareness about MVC architecture. We have understood MVC architecture meaning, architecture, rules, execution flow, and syntaxes. In the next class tomorrow, we are going to see examples on this MVC. So any doubts at this moment today?
No. నాకు రికార్డింగ్స్ సెండ్ షేర్ చేయాలి.
అది ఒకసారి పియర్స్కి మెయిల్ పెట్టండి, వాళ్ళు పంపిస్తారు మీకు.
ఓకే ఓకే, 4 క్లాసెస్ నుంచి. ఓకే అన్న.
ఓకే. So anything else, anyone?
No.
Okay. So do practice, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me with the demo practice or anything else. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow in the same timings.